like to gavel in our regularly scheduled meeting for July 15, 2013. If you'd all please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Harper. Alderman Nguyen.
Here.
Alderman Robertson. Alderman Kramer.
Present.
Alderman Tui.
Here.
Alderman Leahy.
Here.
Alderwoman Manister.
Here.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Here.
Thank you. Next item, approval of the agenda. I've got one change. If we could move item 11G up to under presentations and recognitions. The Excise Commissioner.
So moved, Your Honor.
And second, this is just for the moving that.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Alderwoman Saunders?
I think we need to have legal under the closed session. We were going to add that based on your email.
No, actually, we have a separate agenda for that one.
Oh, we do?
Right, that was added after,
So she
after we
posted
had
it
already
separately.
posted
It was
this, so that was
Sorry, I
posted
missed it.
separately.
Okay, apologize, missed it.
I did the same thing before the meeting. So,
Thank you.
okay. Now, a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Approval of consideration approval of the minutes from the regular Board of Alderman meeting from June 24th, 2013. Any changes?
Your Honor, if I may.
Alderman Leahy?
I'm on page 10 of the minutes. At the top of page 10, we're discussing Bill 5774 on cutting the right-of-ways and not. I'd like the minutes to reflect that I did comment that by failing to pass this bill, that the city takes on the responsibility of cutting the grass in the right-of-ways throughout the entire city of Brentwood. And I did make that comment during that meeting.
Okay. Alderman Saunders?
I have a couple of changes. On page 3, at the top of the page, Octavia, the second line ends in TIF district. Lang, that's Karen Lang, stated the general fund does owe the capital improvement plan $495,000. And then
And where am I adding it?
right after the second line on that page, that sentence ending 495 to the TIF district, and the next sentence would be, Lang stated the general fund does owe the capital improvement plan $495,000. I think the number is actually 491, but she stated it as 495.
Isn't that what that says? The capital fund payment COPs and the general fund owes not 495.
No, that's
Oh, it's not to the TIF district. That's
Yes.
incorrect, right?
The TIF district owes it to us.
Right, I got it.
Okay. And then on page 6, at line 5, well, first of all, no, 1, 2, the second line, the second sentence, that comments were offered, it's Alderwoman Saunders offered those comments. That was me. And then at the end of those comments, so line 5, where it ends, once it is received, Alderwoman Saunders stated she has been pushing for a compensation survey prior to being elected and is shocked the city hasn't performed one. And then I just had one other one, and that's on page 9. After 25%, line 9, the 9th line down, which starts, Saunders said she is more comfortable with 25%, add as the minimum reserve balance, which is in keeping with surrounding municipalities. Our minimum is below the GFOA standard. And then the only other one, page 11, I don't know how important this is, but it said that I canceled my ward meeting, and I said I just didn't want it posted until I emailed and saw if individuals were interested. I don't know how important that is to change or not, but I didn't actually say I was going to cancel it. I just asked you not to post it until I made that, until I said I would put out an email to see if individuals are interested in attending.
Okay.
And then one other on that page, Don Nuremberg, on page 11, announced support of Boys Hope, Girls Hope, and then right in there, I believe in their mission. And then the sentence goes on.
Okay, do you have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Before you do that, can I get some clarity? On
Sure.
page 3, are we saying the general fund, the statement that says the general fund owes $495,000 to the DIF district is incorrect? That should be removed, and it should be the other way around?
That comment was, it was explained that intergovernment revenues, let's see, from capital fund were payments to the COP. That statement's correct. I mean, the transfers from the capital fund, one of the reasons that Gina gave was for payments of the COP debt. But the question I was asking, did the general fund owe the capital improvement fund $495,000? And Karen Lang, at the end of it, she said yes. Lang stated the general fund does owe the capital improvements.
Okay, so
Fine.
your comment was in addition to?
Right,
What
in
you're asking
addition
for is
to.
in addition to what's
Yep,
here?
just,
Okay.
and the only thing it is Lang stated the general fund does owe the capital improvement fund $495,000.
Okay, that's what I need.
But this is incorrect. The general fund does not owe $495,000 to the TIF district. It does not. That is incorrect. If she said it, it's incorrect.
I think that's what was said, but then it was clarified afterwards with
Okay.
what she's adding.
I just, when I'm listening for my section, I have to add verbatim instead of summarizing, so,
Okay.
and if you want to put them on hold and go back and verify that, that's up to you.
Your Honor,
No, we can go ahead, but
Okay.
I just, that's an incorrect statement.
Okay,
Okay.
so,
Have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
And second?
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Opposed, Your Honor.
I'm sorry,
Opposed.
I'm sorry. Did you want to wait?
Forgive me, but I think it's very, very important that we get the minutes right, that we establish which fund owes the $495 to which. We've now turned around and said 3 different ways. One is the TIF owes it, one is that the capital improvement owes it, and one is the general fund. I think the minutes ought to reflect it correctly. So yes, I would love to have that fixed
The-
and properly
tell
understood by
you.
all members.
400, I'm not going to tell you what the capital fund and the TIF district have, but 495,000 is due, the general fund owes that to the TIF district.
No.
Oh, well,
To
I'll
the
get-
capital improvement fund.
Nope.
Gina, would you like to?
And then 491,000 is to the capital improvement fund. There's 2.
That's how that comment got in there.
Well, for the amendment that's made, I'll go back to the tape and hear what's stated there and make sure that I send that out to everyone, so that way you know exactly what the statement was.
Thank you.
Great.
Your Honor,
Alderman Kramer.
if I could just add in, on the topic of the minutes, there are going to be some occasions where we don't agree with what was said in the minutes, but I believe that's what was said, and then we corrected that afterwards.
That's right.
So even though you may not like it, I think it was spoken.
Right. It's not the TIF district, it's the general and the capital improvement fund.
Gina, excuse me, it's both, isn't it? Because the due to liability from the general fund is $1,000,002 something, and I added it up, and it was 400,000 numbers, and then a couple 100,000, and then 8,000 from the pension fund, and about 8,000 from. No, the 200,000 was from the sewer lateral program. Doesn't that add up?
The comments were regarding page 37 of the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, and in there it lists all of the outstanding liabilities and receivables between the funds. And there is an outstanding receivable for the TIF fund from the general fund of $495,000.
Okay.
And then there's also one to the capital improvement one, correct, for 400?
From the TIF fund,
No, from the what does the general fund owe? That's what I'm looking at.
capital improvement, 490.
And what does it owe? Yeah, 490. And it owes the sewer lateral program? That wasn't discussed, I'm just asking.
Small amount.
I don't see a sewer lateral
Oh,
receivable.
there was some $200,000 number. Sorry.
Stormwater park.
Stormwater Park, okay. So it does owe. It owes about $1.2 million something.
and the.
Well, but when you say receivable in that instance, you're talking about funds that we've collected but haven't transferred over to the TIF fund, right?
These are outstanding receivables and liabilities that have been outstanding for some time.
Okay.
I have not researched to see specifically what each amount is made up of,
Okay.
but they've been there.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It seems to me, though, if the minutes, we have to say what the person said.
Right.
right.
That's fine.
And whether we agree with it or it isn't important.
Well, I just wanted to understand
Okay.
it. Right.
But
yeah.
I mean, but as far as the minutes concerned, what actually the person says is what you got to put down there.
Right. Okay.
But you, Your Honor, but this board amended the minutes, and amending the minutes, you corrected one statement, added another statement, and then made a third statement.
I didn't
So which
correct
of the three
anything.
statements is the real statement? Because you all just voted to amend this, and the statements that you went to
Alderman
amend
Saunders
isn't the dead
added
correct
what
one.
she said after that.
All I added was Lang stated the general fund does owe the capital improvement plan $495,000.
That's it.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Next item, Excise Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a request for a temporary liquor license from Julie Madras, who lives at 8813 Powell Avenue. She would like to serve beer and wine at the rec center in relationship to a wedding shower for some friends of hers, and it will be held on August the 17th.
Okay.
Her application's in order, it's been signed off, fee has been paid, and I recommend approval.
Thank you. Any questions? Motion?
Motion to approve this request, Your Honor.
And second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
No.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item, public hearings. We have two public hearings this evening. I'll gavel in the first public hearing for an amendment to Chapter 25, Article 1 of the Brentwood Code of Ordinances pertaining to tattoo establishments. Ellen?
Thank you. The Planning and Zoning Commission took this up at staff's request. We had a business that located to Brentwood that wanted to provide cosmetic tattoo services, and currently our code does not allow that. Tattoo establishments are prohibited except for in the retail service commercial district, and this business wants to locate on Manchester Road in the general commercial district. So the Planning and Zoning Commission is recommending approval of the change to the definition of tattoo establishment. Basically, it would allow cosmetic tattoo services in the general commercial, planned development, urban development, and retail service commercial district
Okay.
as a permitted use.
Alderman
And-
Saunders?
And these cosmetic, I know eyeliner is one, that's a tattoo if you want to have that done. Is there any other examples, just so the audience knows?
Sure. The definition reads, the definition is not intended to prohibit, nor shall it be interpreted in such a manner that prohibits salon or cosmetic tattoo services which consist of the application of permanent makeup and coloring for eyes, eyebrows, and lips, so long as the person administering said services is licensed by the state of Missouri.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This,
What, can we open up to the audience? This is a public hearing for the
Oh,
audience first. and then
okay,
we'll-
sure.
If anybody in the audience would like to address the board with respect to this change to the zoning code, please come forward and give us your name and address. Yeah, don't go anywhere, you might. Okay, now I'll open up to the board. Alderman Nguyen?
just wanted to know, way behind on this one. Okay, what cosmetic, what does that mean? What, I'm not quite sure. That doesn't mean
It's-
tattoos like you.
No, it's permanent makeup. So if someone wants to have eyeliner, eyebrows, or,
It stays on forever, right?
well, probably for a very long
Theoretically.
time, at least. I'm not sure
Okay.
exactly.
All right, I just
Okay.
had wanted to find out. Way ahead of me.
Okay.
They can wake up in the morning with their makeup on.
Okay, all right, thank you. We'll close that public hearing. I will gavel in second public hearing An amendment to Chapter 25, Article 1, Chapter 25, Article 4, Division 3. Ellen?
Okay, thank you. This came to the Board of Aldermen last fall, and the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission at that time was to amend the code to allow the increase in size of storage sheds from 144 square feet to 200 square feet, and to limit the number of storage sheds to 1 per lot. And there were some concerns that were stated at that time by the Board of Aldermen, and so we took this back to, staff took it back to Planning and Zoning Commission and asked them to consider it a little bit more. And what we've come up with, or what they've come up with, is an amendment that changes to address the issues of site coverage. The definition of building coverage is changed. In the zoning code, in residential districts, there is no site coverage limit, but there is a limit to building coverage. However, the current definition doesn't include accessory structures in building coverage. So this text amendment would change the definition of building coverage so that all buildings, including accessory structures, would be included. So it also still limits the number of storage sheds to 1. And I discussed the definition of building with the building official, because I think that was one of the concerns, was how are we going to define whether it's a building or not a building. And in the zoning code, there is a definition of building that the building official felt was sufficient, and it would basically leave to the, it says a building is any structure for the shelter, support, or enclosure of persons, animals, chattels, or property of any kind, when separated by division walls without openings. Each portion of such building so separated shall be deemed a separate building. And then you also have to look up the definition of structure, and that also supports defining what would be a building, and it leaves it up to the determination, if there is a question, to the building official to decide what is a building. So something that is portable, that could be moved around, would not be considered a structure or a building, because it would actually have to be, and this is in the building code according to our building official, have to be somehow secured to the ground for safety purposes so it doesn't blow away in a heavy wind. So an accessory storage structure would be one that would be at least semi-permanently attached to the ground.
Okay.
And that's in the, again, that's in the building code.
Okay. We'll open up to the public. If anybody has any questions or comments with respect to new code with dealing with accessory buildings on residential lots? Sorry.
Susan Ryan, Pine Avenue. I want to thank you because it was one of the things that I brought forward, that we didn't have a site coverage ratio for our residential lots. And in the building process, as we allow large-scale builds, large-scale additions, decks, large sheds, we are moving to an excessive crowding of smaller lots. So I want to thank you for the effort to bring that forward and include it with this change, because I think as we move around Brentwood, we want to ensure that we actually keep some green space on people's actual lots. And I want to thank you for that attention.
Thanks. Okay. Alderman Lay.
Ellen, if I can have a conversation with you. Starting with the definition of structure here in our current code that we're working with, not the potential revised code. A building, the use of which requires location on the ground. So a portable shed does fall under the definition of a structure and does get counted. It's located on the ground. Does not require that it be actually bolted to the ground. The or says attachment to something located on the ground. This board just authorized chicken coops. Chicken coops are considered a structure then. How do we turn around and define the 200 square feet and then limit to 1 if we have multiple different sheds that we're putting out in backyards? How does the Planning Commission resolve that problem?
Limiting them to 1?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I don't think I understand your question.
Well, they did. I
your
guess
bit-
you would have to ask planning and zoning the question.
And that's
they
why I
did.
sent it back to them, because they had the issue of limiting to 1. Most of your residents don't have garages, so they have a storage shed. Now you're going to limit it to one, but if I have chicken coops, and in my particular case, I have 3 sheds on my property. One that is permanently structured to a concrete pad and 2 that are portable. But under the definition, I'm in violation because I have 3 buildings outside.
You would actually be grandfathered in.
How do I establish who gets grandfathered and who does not?
Everyone would be grandfathered in, and the way to determine it moving forward, if someone came in and they wanted to build a 200 square foot shed or something of that nature, and we would ask, do you have any existing? And they'd say yes. Then we would use an affidavit form to determine whether or not there were in existence prior to the ordinance being adopted. And that's pretty standard practice. I've done that in other cities where I've worked
Okay.
before.
I come to the planning, the housing department, and I ask for a permit to allow chickens on my property, now authorized by the board. And I wish to bring in a coop for my chickens, but I have a storage shed that does not meet the 200 square feet dimension. But now I have 2 buildings. Do I get granted a permit, or do I get told, no, I can't?
You know, I don't think, let me look at accessory storage. Yeah, I don't think
It is under our definition of structure.
No, because we have a definition of
This is the current code.
an
This is-
accessory,
Well, the current code, which,
Yep.
Well, go ahead, Ellen, please.
is that the one we just?
and
We haven't changed it yet.
Wait,
I'm talking
Please,
about
let's
a
one at a
storage
time,
shed
please.
that's a structure for storage incidental to a permitted use, providing no such freestanding structure accessory to single-family dwelling shall exceed 144 square feet. That's the current definition of an accessory storage structure.
Yep.
I don't know if we specifically, I don't have the chicken ordinance here in front of me, and I'm not sure if we specifically addressed separating them, but in my mind, it would not be considered the same thing as an accessory storage structure.
Under the structure definition, the falls under that code.
They could both be structures, but in terms of being an accessory storage structure, because you also have garages which are separate from
Yep.
accessory storage structure. They're a different item in
Class.
this.
They have a
list.
different class. They're actually the private, the public, and the storage. Those 3 definitions are in there, but we did not do that with the others. And portable sheds fall under the structure arrangement.
Well, okay, I guess
And thus, I'm seeing a conflict that if we pass this ordinance, we can create a major problem for our residents that I don't think we should be doing.
because if they want to have a chicken coop, they couldn't have.
They have a chicken, or even if they get a portable shed. Currently, and what I've got is a storage shed that holds my kayaks, my lawnmower, and yard equipment. I've got a portable shed that holds little tools. And then I got a portable shed that hides the trash cans because the city doesn't want trash cans visible. So now I have 3 buildings. You're going to tell me I have to go to
Are
one,
they-
but you'll grandfather me in.
And you're saying they're all permanently fixed to the
No,
ground?
they aren't. The 2 are portables, but they all 3 fall under the structure definition, and thus they would end up being the structure definition. I don't meet your code that we'd be looking to pass tonight. And this was my argument
could
when
be-
we brought the bill the first
Yeah,
time.
if they can be moved around and I wouldn't consider them to be a structure.
Structure definition says that
Well,
it does.
Also based, and again, this is based on a conversation that I have with the building official and looking at building code
Mm-hmm.
and what he would require, which I think the definition of structure does allow the building official to make that determination.
okay. All right,
Right.
thank you. I'll close the public hearing. And we'll move on to item 7, bids. We have 1 bid this evening.
Yes, your Mayor. Strassner Avenue and Brentwood Boulevard intersection landscape maintenance. The city received 2 submittals, one from Land Design LLC for $11,077. The second from Outdoor Solutions for $8,490. Public Works Committee and staff recommends that it be awarded to Outdoor Solutions.
Okay. And we have that ordinance on this evening.
Yes, we do.
Okay, any questions? Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
sir.
Oh, Alderman Lay.
Last year, when we passed the bill to do this outdoor arrangement, we also put the caveat in that the city would look at taking over this responsibility. This current bidding arrangement is not in our funding for this year's cost for our budget.
It is not?
I'm not aware that we put in budgeting for the Strassner berm.
Yes, we did.
We did, it's just that the contract ran out, so we needed to
Right.
reissue
That's
the
why
contract.
we went out to bid.
Right,
It's a budgeted item.
it's in there.
And staff had indicated when this came up during Public Works Committee deliberation that we don't have the capacity to maintain this berm in-house, which was why we decided to go out to bid.
Okay.
What is the life of the contract?
This is-
It was for 3 years, and then we went out to bid.
3 years plus 2 one-year options to that.
Okay.
Right, for this one.
Thank you. Next item, item 8, hearing of any matters of public interest upon any persons present. If you'd like to address the Board of Aldermen, please come forward and give us your name and address. Oh, we have one, I'm sorry, we have one presentation. I'm sorry, yes, we have one presentation first before we get to the public comment. I'm sorry. And gentlemen, I will turn it over to you if you will introduce yourself, please.
We good on volume? Great. Jason Norton from Webster Groves, right down the street. Company is American Traffic Solutions. We do your photo enforcement program. Dan Reeb with me, Associate General Counsel for ATS. Ron Battelle is right there, Public Safety Director, former Police Chief, St. Louis County. And Damon Cross, our Senior Account Manager. All three of those also live in St. Louis County, but north. I live south. Just wanted to come by and thank you, spend a couple minutes with you. Our contract is up for a photo enforcement program, so we just want to come by and thank you for working with us on this successful program, let you know a little bit about the program, what we did, and no death by PowerPoint here. I won't pretend to email or read everything to you. Our company overview, I don't know if we can get that on the screen, sir.
Can we, yeah.
There we go. It'll still be hard to read. I will not read all those words to you, I promise. But we're a U.S. company. We're based in Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona, and Tempe. We have 16 regional offices throughout the United States, one right here in St. Louis. It was one of the first outside of Arizona. We have about 300 programs throughout the country, and we're the nation's largest photo enforcement provider. We also have about 250 bus cameras installed. We're the largest Missouri photo enforcement provider as well. I'm sure you can read all of those cities on there. But we have more clients and systems than all the other competitors combined. We've been working with the court system. We've gone all the way to the Court of Appeals and Supreme Court on several issues. And we have a strong and continued presence here with the Missouri legislature as those issues come by. Some of our photo enforcement solutions, as you're well aware of, is the red light safety camera solutions. Again, this only takes pictures of cars who are running the red light. The red light has to be red before you come to the stop bar. If you're in the, now I tell you, right? Once you're in the middle of the intersection, if it turns yellow, then and if it's yellow and then turns red, it doesn't count. It has to be red before you come to the stop bar. I'm sure you've seen the pictures and the videos throughout the years. We also have speed safety camera solutions. We're the only vendor with a MoDOT-approved automated speed camera solution in the state. That's in a school zone. That's what we're focused on. Our current one is in Calverton Park, which I'm sure you're familiar with, is here in St. Louis County. It runs an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, when kids are coming, when kids are going home. It's off during the summer and the weekends, non-schools, holidays. So it only runs those times when the kids are coming and going. We have signs, we have beacons telling you it's a school zone. So it's a pretty good program. Crossing Guard is a relatively new product, but this goes on the side of a bus. And as cars would pass a bus with their strap arms out, you take a picture of that car and submit it to the police for their review. So the law exists right now for bus drivers to do that, but if you can imagine being a bus driver, 25 kids behind you yelling, you've got a kid outside, and then you've got a car busting by your bus, the last thing you're going to be able to do is capture, remember, write down the license plate. So this automates that program for the bus driver where they can focus on the kids and not have to be focused on that. And ironically, when we got into this, just like I did red light cameras, it was like nobody really runs the red lights that much. Wrong. And I was the same on the school bus. It's like no one really still does this, right? Wrong. I think Missouri did a program last year where they take one day and they have the buses count. And so they had a third of the buses in Missouri count, and they had over 5,000 violations in one day with a third of the buses. The special school district, which I'm sure you're all familiar with here in St. Louis County, they are some of the worst offenses because they're slower. People take a little bit longer to get on the bus. Sometimes they have a ramp for kids to get on the bus. They've actually had cars go on the right side of the bus and jump the ramp. Unbelievable, but it happens. We also have what we call Plate Check Overview. It's an auto license plate reader. You already have this program in the city on top of your police cars. It reads license plates. This is a little bit different, but the same process is that you would stick it on one of your red light camera poles. These are used for amber alerts, silver alerts, felonies, stolen cars. If the license plate goes by and it tags it, it will page a police officer or however they set it up to let them know where the cars are. We had a recent event in the St. Louis city that we were able to gather a license plate, help the police tag the car, find the victim, and I can't get into it because it's ongoing, but it was really important to them. We just helped them solve a major crime. So for the city of Brentwood, what has this done? So it's been a valuable video tool for the police. In our red light camera program, although we're just taking a picture of the red light violators, it also has a 24/7 video attached to it. So when a car runs that red light, we attach a 12-second video of the car running the red light, and that way the police, when they're reviewing their citations, not only use the still photos, but they'll use the video. What are the circumstances? If I was on the road and this is what I was seeing, would I write the ticket? Is there a fire truck pushing me out of the way? Is there pedestrians? Is it snowy? Is it rainy? Is the car speeding? So that video runs 24/7, and about every 30 days it writes over itself. But in the meantime, if the police need the video for something of an investigation that's not just red light running, it could be as simple as, hey, we had an accident at the intersection. Everybody says they had the green light, of course. Do you have video of that intersection so we don't have to spend the next 30 days going he said, she said, involving the insurance companies? We can watch the video, immediately close the investigation, move on, and get on to other police work. So one of the things we've done with Brentwood is help, if you remember just not too long ago, unfortunately, a Central West End murder of a SLU volleyball player. Brentwood Police was very involved. I don't know how much they've shared or told you. They were very involved in helping solve that case. We helped them with some video to place some of the vehicles on a victim here in Brentwood, which helped solve that case from that video. We also had, early on, we had a hit and run on a pedestrian at Brentwood and Rose. It might be hard to see, but look over on your right, or left here. Right there, that pedestrian coming out, car coming out of there, boom, hits the pedestrian. Believe it or not, did you get to see that, ma'am?
I didn't, sorry.
I'll run it one more time here.
I want to really see people hurt, though. Forget it. There it is.
So that car right there pulling out, and that's the pedestrian.
Probably texting.
Boom, hits it. Believe it or not, keeps on running, keeps on moving. The car did, and so we helped the police capture that car and the video evidence. Just this past February, you may have seen on the news, but right down the street here at Brentwood, Manchester, Missouri, American water worker is working out in the middle of the intersection late at night. This will be hard to see, but it's right in the middle. Working out in the intersection, right there. Boom. He said, she said, nobody saw the car coming. Obviously, the car did stop, as you can see, helped the worker. But it just helped the police investigate what was happening there. Was the driver weaving? Were they going fast? Did they stop? What was going on there? The police have also requested videos on several occasions for the kidnapping, robberies, other police investigations, and it helps reduce police operating costs when they were using these, because they can close those investigations and move on. So beyond police, the video tool, this is a violator-funded program. As you know, Mr. Merritt, you set this program up where violators pay for it. Taxpayers don't pay for it. So you would only pay the vendor, us, if the violator paid. So that means it has to capture the violation, the police have to approve it, the citation has to go out, the person has to pay it or adjudicate it. Only then would you pay us. So no city tax dollars were used. You had no capital expenditure from the city. We installed everything, maintained it, replaced it when it would get hit. And I think it probably cost you a little bit less. I think I calculated the other day, a little bit less than $3 per camera. Violation decrease. Does it work? It's the only thing that matters, right? So it did a dramatic violation decrease in your violation. Brentwood and Rose, for example, when we tested back in 2008, you had about a violation rate of about 25 per day. So this is southbound, Brentwood and Rose. So far in probably the first 5-6 months of this year, you've only had 9 total. So you went from 25 a day to 9 total over 5 months. It's a dramatic decrease. Unfortunately, you don't catch everybody. This was one from just about a month ago. You'll see it on your right side buzzing through. Clearly red for a long time. Cars are moving on the other. Whoa! Hello. So that's what you're capturing. It's not, it's not a gotcha program. These are very clear violations. Public safety benefit. Do people learn their lessons? In the city of Brentwood, even though you've had a long program, 99% of the people who received and paid a ticket did not get another one. 99%. If I could get my kids not to mark on the wall, 1 out of 100 times after I told them, success. Police review and discretion. As I said, we give these all to the police to review. It's up to them. No citations go out unless the police review them and approve them. So they can use their discretion at their will. And they've done that. I think we looked at it a while ago, and through the program, the entire program, the police have rejected about 25% of what we've sent them. Could be for any reason, that they see. It's like glare, it was rain, it was snow, they didn't mean to, whatever the case may be, they had that choice as they would on the street. So in summary, as I said, no death by PowerPoint, but I will read this one. Your photo program has been an incredible success story in reducing red light running, greatly aiding the police in important investigations, and doing so at violator expense and not taxpayers. And we want to just come by and thank you for the program and for working with us to get this done. So thank you very much. Happy to answer any questions if need be. If not, I will.
Does anybody have any questions?
Good
All right.
presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For those of you that weren't here when I made this announcement earlier, our air conditioner is not working if it's not obvious, so we apologize for this evening. Now I will, again, it's a public comment, so if anybody would like to address the board, please come forward and give us your name and address.
My name is Jim Pozo. I live at 2211 St. Clair. I've lived in Brentwood for 29 years. I think it is very serious that the citizens had to have the state audit the city of Brentwood at a cost to the city of $80,000. The results of that audit showing that in 2011, the city officials were violating 4 city ordinances, violating 7 state statutes, violating 1 state constitutional article, violating 2 instances of the Fair Labor Standard Act of 1938. The state audit lists the annual cost of some of these items. $28,000 for medical benefits for select elected officials, $22,000 of TDD fees paid out to select employees, $21,000 for employee perfect attendance program. If you add the fireman's maintenance program and the golf tournament funds given to the charity, which again is a violation of the Missouri State Constitution, the city was spending approximately $100,000 a year in violation of laws, statutes, or ordinances. Now that we have the results of the annual audit for 2012, the auditors noted 8 significant deficiencies and 17 other current year matters. For 2012, the results of this audit would have been expected to be better. City officials should be directing the city staff to concentrate on fixing these problems. I see the problem with all of this is that most of our elected officials have been in office for many years. So if they had let this go on for all these years, what can we expect in the future? State statute requires the city obtain faithful performance bonds on certain city management to protect the city against misuse of city funds. The Board of Aldermen needs to act on filing a claim on this bond to recover these funds, and also needs to have a forensic audit performed on past years, because every time something is investigated, there seems to be a problem found.
Susan Ryan, Pine Avenue. I have the warrant list in front of me. And one of the things I'm looking at is the budget column. And it looks to me as if it's an annual number. And yet, then what we present next to it appears to be a month-to-date number. I would like to see whether or not this report can be revised to include a year-to-date amount, so that when I look at the budget, I have a current month, but I also have the year-to-date, so that we can tell how much of that particular budget has been expended. One of the things that I noticed very clearly on here is that there are legal fees consistently down this page. I think that we all understand that we're spending a considerable amount of money on legal fees. But as to this report, if a year-to-date column could be put in, that would be appreciated. Anyway, thank you.
Matt Saunders, 2326 Parkbridge Avenue. I was also looking at the 2012 budget, and my question is, and I was just wondering if you guys would be open to, so for example, journal entries was a deficiency. The city's response was the city will initiate a review and approval process for all journal entries. I was just wondering if you could give us something more concrete with more specificity. So for example, if it said something to buy, and I don't know who would be in charge. I mean, you run a bank, you know finance, you're an accountant. I would think that you could come back to us and say, okay, by August 15th, Bolo will present, here's what we did to fix it. And I was wondering if you could like go down these 8 deficiencies they showed and just give us like, here's the timeline. I'm not asking for names of who's doing it internally, but you can give titles. But, you know, and just say, okay, on August 15th, the city came up with this process for journal entries. The problem is now fixed. And if you could just do something that has more specificity, because everything here, there's no, we will do it in this timeline. It's, you know, it's just under review. And it just, I think it would give more confidence to the citizens if you just came to us and said, hey, I will have this, I will have A done by September 15th, B done by September 30th, and just at a meeting, if you just review, here's the solution we're coming up to. I would assume some of them are more complicated than that, and I understand that, but some of them, having been through audits and accounting, some of them look like they could be literally done in a memo. My personal opinion being through audits and coming up with solutions, some of them look pretty easy, but it's just so vague with the answers here. Thank you.
Denise Sebbing, 2612 Porter, and I concur with Jim and Matt both on their comments regarding the audit. I think the fact that the city has spent all this money on audits and we still don't have any specifics on who's going to do what or anybody really being accountable, I think we need that accountability. That's my general statement. Secondly, I think it's appalling that I have to come to these meetings and constantly try to get answers to our questions about status updates on things that we've sent letters to city officials. Well, I know we've sent this to you over a month ago. Specifically, I have 3 items. One, there are trees that we've talked about. Some of them have been cut down, but unfortunately there's some that still haven't, and one of them happens to be in Mike Shelton's yard. And I'd just like to say that, you know, as an attorney that we pay a lot of money to in the city, I think he could well afford to cut trees down in his neighborhood and try to make Brentwood look a little bit better. Secondly, I'd like to get a status update on the watering bowl fence being built. These folks we have documented have been breaking the ordinance, and I know that this person has said that they're going to put up a sound wall to help muffle some of that. But the fact is, Pat, you said in your meeting last week, they told us before you all voted on the approval of that organization moving in that there wasn't going to be a sound issue, that they were going to have supervisors out there ensuring that the dogs weren't going to be barking on a routine basis. And I can tell you, living there, my neighbors will tell you the same thing too. 7 a.m. every day this weekend, they've had packs of dogs out barking for 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes at a time. They'll go in, they'll come back out. And while they say that it's breaking the sound ordinance just when the dogs are let out, anytime the dogs get riled up, they bark. I mean, that's the nature of dogs. And yes, they may have supervisors out there watching them, But when the dogs are barking like that, they don't bring them in. They just let them sit out there and bark. So I know they're supposed to be building this fence. They said they were going to build it shortly. I pass by Hanley every day on my way to and from work, and I see no movement towards putting that sound barrier up. So I'd like an update on that. Finally, the PDI facility. I know, Bola, you had told us back in spring at one of the planning and zoning meetings that they were going to be doing some reconstruction. I understand that they've filed permits to do that to help with some of the sound. We can't we were told it was going to be done by the summer solstice. Well, it's now July 15th. The sound is still going on. Most recently, I heard that they're going to be doing construction, that they've actually done some duct work inside the facility to try to help with this sound issue, and they're hoping the first week of August to have that done. But again, this weekend, 3:30, 5:30 in the morning, we've been awakened by the sound. And while it may sound base to you and a nuisance to complain about these issues, we are losing sleep on a regular basis, we and our neighbors in our neighborhood. And we've been waiting years to hear updates, and I don't think it's unreasonable to expect updates as to why they're doing this. We've heard different stories, insurance, to be good neighbors, whatever, why they're doing this, what they really hope to accomplish, that it really will stop the noise and not make it worse, and why they can't in the next couple of weeks, at least until they are doing some changes, try to keep the noise to just daily work hours and not through the night and through the weekends. Thank you.
Okay, we close public comment. Move on to introduction, reading, and passage of bills. Alderman Saunders.
I wanted to thank Susan. That's a good suggestion on there. We have it in some of the body. You'll see, like for Thompson and Coburn, you'll have the year or date, but we don't have it on all of them, and I think it's an excellent idea. And then, and Jim, too, to file on the bond. And Matt, when you were talking, you referenced the budget, but you're referring to the internal control report for 2012. You said budget, so I just wanted to. I was just hoping that the board. Nope, you're not supposed to answer. So
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify that.
You can have that debate with your alderman.
Oh, my.
Okay, if I have a motion for the first and second readings of bill number 5776, 5777, 5778, 5779, 5780, 81, and 82, and yes, that's all.
So moved.
First and second reading only.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. First reading of bill number 5776, please.
First reading, Bill Number 5776 by title only, an ordinance amending Chapter 25 of the Revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri by amending Section 25-2 as it relates to the definition of a tattoo establishment, providing for the current maintenance of this code, providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor, and just a side note, I believe some of the language here, it may be similar to another municipality, maybe Creve Coeur, I'm not sure, where we may have borrowed some of this language. Doesn't ring a bell?
No.
Okay, I don't know. Bill 5776, definition of tattoo establishment. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval of a zoning text amendment to change the definition of a tattoo establishment to allow businesses that apply permanent cosmetic makeup in a salon, beauty shop type setting. Based on the current definition in the code, this type of business would only be allowed in the retail service commercial district.
Thank you. Any questions? Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill Number 5776 by title only, an ordinance amending Chapter 25 of the Revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri by amending Section 25-2 as it relates to the definition of a tattoo establishment, providing for the current maintenance of this code, providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay. Do you have a motion, please?
So moved.
And second?
Second, Your Honor.
Motion was made by Alderwoman Saunders, second by Alderman Kramer to adopt bill number 50, or to perfect bill number 5776 into ordinance form.
And a question from
Alderman Quinn?
In no way does this allow tattooing that we think otherwise.
Body
arms,
art,
Body
no.
art and stuff?
No.
No way, okay.
Correct, Ellen?
That's correct.
Yes.
Excuse
Your
me.
Honor, if I may.
Alderman Lee?
Ellen, in this bill, it does not also establish how they can advertise this type of service. So if the establishment wishes, they can put up tattoos on their window and advertise that they're providing that service. Because there's nothing in the bill that prevents that.
Well, that's true, and I guess I would say that they're not considering themselves to be a tattoo parlor per se,
But
so.
in order to
I
get
don't know if they
the consumer's interest, I can foresee them putting that on the windows or in their things to get people to come in and pay attention to them to come in. From there, it's a matter of trying to sort out what they can and can't do.
This particular business I know is
Mhm.
a salon-type business, so I don't know if that's the type of clientele they're trying to attract, but you're correct, that this doesn't prohibit putting the word tattoo
Thank you.
on their building.
Okay.
Are you worried about people advertising services they can't provide? I don't see that being a very good business practice. I don't think anyone would do that.
Okay.
Alderman Saunders?
Can I ask, are tattoo establishments, they're not prohibited though, right? They're only able to locate in the retail? That's correct. In the retail, so all,
Service commercial, not retail, service commercial.
I'm sorry, that new retail service commercial district. So Alderman Nguyen, though, you know what I mean, we do allow tattoo establishments. Oh, okay.
I'm talking about not this, but all over that.
But what we do, but the city does allow all of that, only in a certain type of, I'm not a fan.
But, yeah, but it's very
tattoo
limited.
parlor, yes, is only allowed in the retail service commercial district, so we do allow them currently, that traditional.
So give an example of that district.
Retail service commercial? It's in brown, it's very tight.
It's like the Joseph H. White building, is that correct?
The Magna Place.
Magna Place.
That's the only,
And
those are the
we only
only
have two districts that it's allowed.
And
or
that's
two
because
areas.
we're phasing those, I mean, we're going more to new, like neighborhood mixed use, different.
We'll probably when there's some rezoning along Brentwood Boulevard, it's possible those may go away. But I think they also serve a purpose in that there are a couple of uses that are allowed just in those districts.
In just those districts.
Kind of
Thank you.
limits them. You're welcome.
Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah, it's those brown ones right up there. right?
Thank you, Bola.
Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
No.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Bill number 5776 is now ordinance number 4447.
Okay, thank you. First reading of bill number 5777, please.
First reading Bill Number 5777 by title only, an ordinance amending Chapter 25 of the Revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri by amending Section 25-2 by deleting Section 25-3875 in its entirety and by adding in lieu thereof a new Section 25-3875 as it relates to storage structures, providing for the current maintenance of this code, providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Okay, synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Another subject of a previous public hearing, Bill 5777, is a definition of building coverage. Our Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of zoning text amendments to change the definition of building coverage to include accessory buildings and increase the size of accessory storage sheds to 200 square feet, while also limiting the number of accessory storage sheds to one per property on the zoning lot.
Okay. Alderman Leahy.
Your Honor, I'd like to at this time offer an amendment to this bill. I would like the bill to specifically call out that portable storage sheds will not be counted.
Okay. So
That's a motion.
does that mean they can have as many portable ones as they want?
Yep.
Alderwoman Saunders.
The portable ones will be allowed in the new code, correct? It's only the one, they have to be attached to the ground, correct? They're defined as a structure only if they're attached. Is that what you were saying?
Yes.
So like what the tall Rubbermaid ones, to put tools in, is that,
Like that you'd put.
is that
in
a
your house or whatever.
structure?
Right.
If it's not attached, then it wouldn't be considered, a storage structure, like, I'm talking about something that would be attached.
Okay, so
with a
that's not
base.
under which code? Today's code or the upcoming code? Alderman Lay, you seem to
We
think
haven't
there's a
dealt with it
difference.
in the new,
the
that wasn't
new
something
code.
that was.
He was dealing with the definition of structure, not
Yep.
necessarily this.
Oh,
That's where-
okay. And then the other question I have is, with dealing with that as far as defining structure, with the new code or the new, I don't have the chicken coop ordinance, but if somebody has a detached garage, so now that's going to be considered in their building coverage, can they get a coop, or will that be depending on, do you see what I mean? Like,
Would a chicken coop be considered?
A structure?
A structure? That's a good question. I'm not sure.
and I know like some people, it's portable because some people
They
move
move
their
them around.
structures for the sun, to keep
Right,
them out of the sun,
right.
I think they were saying,
In
so.
the application that we received, I know that they were gonna be moving their chicken coop around, for the chickens for whatever purpose, so.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to enact something if we're, you know what I mean, it's, gonna be not consistent with what the ordinance is for the coops. I just don't have it in front of me. Bola, do you know?
Cole.
I don't know if it would be a problem for that, but what actually brought this ordinance issue forward?
A resident wanted to build a 200-foot storage structure.
Oh, that's right. Expensive ones.
She was
Thank
gonna
you.
tear down, I
Right.
think she had 2 or 3, she was gonna tear them down and then just build
Build a
one.
lot, right. Alderman Saunders?
And then, then Susan Ryan brought forward the site coverage, because she said, 200 square foot on some people's lot is okay, but on some of the smaller lots, if you put that, then there's almost no green space. So that's where entered in site coverage and
Right, and this really helped.
building.
It was a problem, because even accessory garages didn't count toward building coverage.
Mm-hmm.
So this, kind of bringing that to the forefront, kind of helped resolve an issue that needed to be fixed in our code.
Right. I mean, I think
So it was
it's
a good
excellent, and I'm
suggestion.
fine with this, but I didn't think about the chicken coop, and so I'm kind of looking to you for professional.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I think my suggestion would be that we move forward with the ordinance. P and Z had reviewed it, and if we need to make some adjustments, but I think
You
that
could
you had
clarify
said
in the
that.
chicken coop ordinance.
Right.
I didn't write that one, so I'm not as familiar with it, but we could,
Adjust
would
that
be
if we needed
acceptable
to.
maybe,
Right, yeah.
if we needed to make a change to that,
Okay.
To what their
to
definition
make sure
is.
that
Right.
chicken coops didn't count as
Not in
storage
conflict.
yet.
Right.
Okay.
Alderman Lay?
There's also
Building
the problem of grandfathering everybody in. You're
Well, I
going to
think
take,
staff has said that they think that they'll be able to handle that.
well, I beg to differ. At what point do you define what's grandfathered and what isn't to work with and to work there? Are you doing satellite, Google Earth and doing satellite photos as of today and say, okay, this is what's in there and thus that's the research that we do? I mean, this is the same thing that we had a problem with the watering bowl. That they would all be grandfathered in because there was no noise ordinance problem that we had in the city.
Well,
So we
no.
changed our ordinances to change the zoning and the sound levels, and now the watering bowl, unfortunately, is violating the new codes. And thus, we have a $9,000 fence going up. I think it's inconsistent of this board to make these decisions without doing some homework.
Alderwoman Manister.
I think we're rethinking it too much. A storage shed, most people are pretty reasonable, and a storage shed is for storage for outdoor tools, things like that. I don't think they're going to be storing their lawnmower in a chicken coop. It's separate. It's a separate, completely separate, item. As far as people getting portable storage sheds and putting them in their backyard, I think most people are reasonable enough that they wouldn't buy 30 of them and cover their entire yard with them. I just don't think that we should rethink it too much. I think most people are reasonable enough to know how much room they need for their items in their backyard if they don't have the garage space, and they would put up an adequate storage shed. And we're just asking to grant that we make a change so people can make it a little bit bigger. And that's my understanding, is that it was this one resident that came, she needed it to be a little bit bigger. Our ordinance called for it to only be, I think, 145
Right.
whatever, and, or 140, whatever, and that's what brought the ordinance, was to change it to make them, be allowed to make them,
Right.
a little bit larger. I just don't think we should overthink it, and,
You gotta work with what's written
I know,
in
but
the
to say
in the
that
bill
we
you're
are
passing
gonna
and the
Google Earth
definitions.
to, spy on everyone to
Yep.
see who's got what is, I just think that's overthinking it, and it's kind of a.
No, it's an enforcement issue.
One second. Alderman Kramer?
Your Honor, I don't have it in front of me like everybody else. Possibly we could get a copy of it this evening, but my recollection of the language in the chicken coop ordinance is very specific, and so that there would not be a conflict between this and that ordinance. If there was, of course, this ordinance says that all other offending or conflicting would be repealed. But we can certainly get a copy of it. We've got a copy here in-house somewhere. Perhaps we could grab one before the next hour goes by, and we could act on it this evening. But my recollection is that that language in that chicken coop does not conflict with this language. And as far as the enforcement goes, every application is subject to inspection by our code officers. If a code officer would like to go and inspect the property to see if there's compliance or extra accessory structures at that time that would be in violation, we would know about it.
Right. Okay. Do we have second reading?
Second reading, bill number 5777 by title only, an ordinance amending Chapter 25 of the Revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri by amending Section 25.2, by deleting Section 25-3875 in its entirety, and by adding in lieu thereof a new Section 25-3875 as it relates to storage structures, providing for the current maintenance of this code, providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Do we have a motion, please?
Motion to approve Bill 5777 as submitted, Your Honor.
Second.
Motion is made by Alderman Kramer, second by Alderman Nguyen. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
No.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Okay,
Bill
first-
number 5777 is now ordinance number 4448.
Thank you. First reading of bill number 5778.
First reading, bill number 5778 by title only, an ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri by deleting Section 2-468 in its entirety and by adding in lieu thereof a new paragraph to Section 2-468 as it relates to the disposition of surplus supplies, materials, and equipment, providing for the current maintenance of this code, providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor, this is a revision to our existing code, Bill 5778, disposition of surplus supplies, materials, and equipment. This bill covers an amendment to the ordinance for Chapter 2 of our Brentwood Municipal Code as it pertains to the disposition of stocks, of all supplies, materials, and equipment that are no longer used or that have become obsolete, worn out, or scrapped. The ordinance has three particular changes. Number one, under subsection A, the words materials and equipment have been added. Number two, the term stock has been added so that we are clear. We're talking about three types of items: supplies, material, or equipment. And number three, subsection D, the term materials.
Alderman Saunders?
Yes, in the actual language of the bill, C, it's incorrect. The purchasing agent is hereby authorized to sell all supplies, materials, or equipment having an estimated value less than, was what the language was. By the end of that Ways and Means meeting, it was basically that this paragraph would stay as is on the code. And then the last sentence is sales of surplus materials or equipment having an estimated value greater than. So, do you remember? I mean, the wording is wrong in the ordinance.
I have my copy of the ordinance, draft ordinance that was presented at Ways and Means, and it reads exactly like the one you have in front of you.
We went round and round on this. I went to get it because we corrected that on May 30th. The language was wrong, and we went back and forth on it. And then by the end of the meeting, I said, well, in essence, other than the mistake of Gina or someone, Alderman or Attorney Albrecht, putting in $10,000, it was to read the same as what it was. So I brought, I think I have the codes with me.
You want to come on, Gina?
I know we discussed the dollar amount as changing, and we had a discussion about that topic, but the wording, well, go ahead, Gina.
The current code, section 2-468, item C says surplus, unusable or obsolete supplies, materials, and equipment whose estimated value in excess of $1,000 shall be sold by formal written contract to the best responsible bidder after due notice inviting bids as provided for procurement by competitive bids. And then section D says sales, surplus, obsolete, or unusable personal property valued at less than $1,000 shall be made in the open market with the approval of Ways and Means. So that's how the current code reads. And
Right,
then-
that's right. I said greater. But weren't they both less than?
No, it's greater than is the bid, where you have to bid it out, and
Anything
less
over
than.
1,000, you're gonna have to bid out. Anything under, they can sell in the open market with approval
Okay.
from Ways and Means.
Can you look at that in the old, do you have your old code with you?
I have a red line version that reads exactly like what you have in front of you as well.
Okay, well, if this is exactly, I wanted to get back to listen to the DVD, and I gave Kevin to make a copy for you, Octavia, of that meeting, so I haven't gotten a chance to listen to it, but I know we went round and round on this topic, and I'm a little confused. I think it seemed to me the wording changed a little, but this is the exact wording that's in there?
It's greater than has to go to bid, and less than shall be sold or traded in the open market, which is how the current code reads.
Okay,
So,
okay.
I think
And
we're
that's
good.
how, I mean, there's nothing different whatsoever.
It's not the exact same wording,
You added the other word.
right. It's supplies, materials, or equipment, and this is surplus, unusable, or obsolete supplies, material, and equipment. So there's a little bit of some,
The three changes that they.
Terms.
yeah,
Those get
some language changes, but it's still the same bidding and open market requirements.
Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill Number 5778 by title only. An ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri by deleting Section 2-468 in its entirety and by adding in lieu thereof a new paragraph to Section 2-468 as it relates to the disposition of surplus supplies, materials, and equipment, providing for the current maintenance of this code, providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Alderman Kramer.
Just a point of reference, it doesn't always say it, in this case it doesn't, but this was reviewed and recommended for approval by the Ways and Means Committee.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve 5778, the bill presented as submitted.
Second.
Go ahead, take it. Motion is made by Alderman Kramer, second by Alderman Toohey. Alderwoman Saunders?
Do you mind if I just add as approved in the Ways and Means? Because I just need to look at that language. I should have
Well, no,
gotten.
it has to be what's here in front of us.
Okay, okay, so, but we know, you're sure that's what was in Ways and Means? Okay, okay.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen? Yes. Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Toohey?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Bill number 5778 is now ordinance number 4449.
Okay, thank you. First reading of bill number 5779, please.
First reading, Bill Number 5779 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, adopting a revised table of permit fees, inspection fees, and other related fees, providing for the current maintenance of this code, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, and providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances.
Your Honor, if I may.
Alderman Leahy. Well, synopsis first. Is there?
If you wish.
Synopsis.
Yes, Your Honor. This is very similar to the title. Bill 5779 is a revised table of permit fees, inspection fees, and other related. This bill is an ordinance adopting a revised table of those permit fees, inspection fees, and other related types. The Board of Aldermen has found it appropriate to revise the table of permit fees, inspection fees, and other related as it relates to decks in Brentwood Forest. This proposed change is brought forward as a result of a code enforcement matter that now requires Brentwood Forest to obtain building permits when repairs are made to existing or new decks, thereby eliminating a safety concern.
Thank you. Alderman Leahy.
Upon passing this bill, assuming that goes through this evening, can we also send a letter to the trustees at Brentwood Forest advising them so that they advise both their maintenance people and the residents of Brentwood Forest that this is actually something that needs to be done properly?
Sure. Didn't you already put
I
it in the
know.
newsletter?
Your Honor, this,
I'm
I
sure
feel
they
very
will.
confident this will be solidly input into all possible systems and
Thank
personnel.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Can I ask, is it the owner of the property that pays for their deck reconstruction, or is it the
Association.
condo association?
Association,
I'm sorry, it's the
Association.
association?
as the trustee for the owner.
So how does the association not know that they owe permit fees for the past?
I don't believe it was in place prior to.
We didn't have a fee for their decks, for
I-
their,
Well, I mean, but did other residents in Brentwood pay permit fees for decks?
Ellen,
Yeah,
do you want to
Ellen.
address that?
Yes, other residents in Brentwood do pay permit fees for decks. Staff met with is he the head of maintenance now?
Yes,
For
Department of, yeah, he's actually the director of operations.
Okay, thank you, for Brentwood Forest, to talk about the fact that they had not been obtaining building permits. And there was we just communicated instances like when structural portions of the deck are changed or decks are completely replaced, that permits are needed. And he was very cooperative and said that would be no problem. They would do that from now on. We're actually going to get the standard building plans for the decks that Brentwood Forest uses, so we can just have them on plan file and approve them.
I read that, and I understand giving them a special rate instead of by the project because they have to pick one of the 6 plans. But what I don't understand is why they weren't getting permits. And is there a way to at least have them pay for some of the past permits? They said there was no way of knowing, but they have this involved capital fund, which I'm sure deck replacements each year are scheduled out.
They weren't getting permits before, so we wouldn't be able to charge them fees and.
they were doing it as
retroactively.
part of their building maintenance. So, just like a homeowner has an existing deck and they're repairing it, they don't go and take out a permit for that. And so, and I think, again, going back to when, all that was constructed, so there's probably just getting to the point where they're starting to replace a lot of them now.
Your Honor.
That project's too old.
I can give a little bit of insight.
Thank you.
Going back to the original time period when the project itself was approved by the Board of Aldermen. We're going back now to late 79, early 1980. Brentwood Forest was the new idea taking over from Audubon Park. In the actual ordinance and the structure that was approved at that time, it actually was not conceived that they were going to need to replace that sort of thing. If you look at some of the other projects that have been approved in the city of Brentwood, once again, that are projects and not individual homes, it sometimes is not undertaken. I don't know why they didn't undertake the language at that particular time, compelling that language to be included, but it wasn't. And so for a long time, Brentwood Forest, which does not normally replace a deck, they normally maintain the deck with boards that are in need of replacement, splintering, or breaking, what have you. It's actually a more rare occurrence for them to fully replace the deck, and certainly not structurally, just the surface boards, the tread boards. But I think this was something that was not included in the original documents, and I think that the reality is the city came to Brentwood Forest some number of years ago under a different management within the department, and there was an agreement struck at that time. For whatever reason, it did not move forward at that time. Now it's moving forward. I think it's great. I'm all for it. I'm happy that they have this agreement in place, and that's what I know.
Alderman Lady, then we'll, good.
Ellen, if I may, in the Public Works meeting, we discussed that part of the problem was also that some of the changes that were made still have a safety violation with them. Will the city of Brentwood and Brentwood Forest condominiums work on fixing those
Yes.
examples that were cited to us and get the safety issues
Yes.
resolved?
Yes, we'll address those.
Okay.
Alderman Saunders?
So can I ask you, Ellen, are you saying that our code excluded Brentwood Forest for permits and fees? They because their documents wouldn't necessarily matter, because that's their condo association, it would be the city. So did the city code exclude Brentwood Forest?
No.
Okay. So I don't understand how, and Alderman Kramer, you just weren't aware? I know you were president at one time, and you're an alderman, and you just didn't know
No,
the city collected
I
permit
think I was
fees?
really clear. If you go back and look at the enabling ordinance for the project itself, it did not specifically compel this particular topic because I guess it wasn't contemplated. I don't know.
Well, I mean, like, it's not in, like, when I go to get a building permit, it's not in my house guide or manual or something. It wouldn't be in your code. It's a requirement of the city.
Right.
So that's why I'm just
I
wondering.
moved in 1994. I can't take responsibility for what happened
I'm
before
not
that time.
saying responsibility, but I would hope as an alderman that at some point you realize permit fees.
But again, I think it was
prior-
very rare that they were taking down a deck and replacing the entire deck. Most of what they were doing was replacing
Okay,
boards
so
or
then
whatever.
repairs
And that's
as
what
far
I'm saying,
as
it's
the
more
s-
maintenance than it was.
Okay.
But now
Correct.
it's getting to the age where they can no longer maintain them, they need to
That's correct.
replace
Okay,
them.
so when
That's
residents repair, the residents don't need a permit.
Repairs that involve structural
Structural.
components of the
Structural,
deck
yes.
do need a building permit.
Okay.
If you look at the lion's share of what's actually done in Brentwood Forest on a very regular basis, it's nothing to do with structural. It's all about replacing a board here, a board there, sometimes a full slate of boards, but the structure itself remains in place.
How did the safety concerns come about? Like, how did our inspectors note that? I'm just curious. as to-
Occupancy permit, inspections.
Occupancy, okay, thank you.
Thanks. Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill number 5779 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri adopting a revised table of permit fees, inspection fees, and other related fees, providing for the current maintenance of this code, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, and providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances.
Okay. Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve as submitted, Your Honor, Bill 5779.
I'll second it, Your Honor.
Motion is made by Alderman Craner, second by Alderman Leahy to perfect Bill number 5779 into ordinance form. I just have one question for the fire chief. On housing unit suppression systems, on the initial inspection, do you go back and re-inspect those? Or is that just out of curiosity?
Brentwood Forest in particular, or?
Well, no, we just have a permit fee for fire safety system permits, and it has housing units. Is that for a residential suppression system?
I assume it is. I don't know in particular. That would be handled by Kevin Cousins. We don't do those inspections for occupancies. It's all handled by the plan and development.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, all right, thanks.
Could I make one?
Alderman Saunders?
I just have a comment. Well, and maybe we have done this recently, and I forgot, but it was brought to my attention, Ward 1, the individuals on Parkside were saying, you know, we're getting all these permit fees that we've never been charged. And one mentioned, you know, the pool, well, there's not that many pools put in, but then they mentioned the air conditioner. And I was wondering if maybe we could publish this. Like, for instance, for me, my air conditioner was done with my addition and stuff, but I wouldn't have known that an air conditioner, I usually think a building would have, you know, like if you replace one that requires a permit. Hopefully the person doing the work would know that, but I think maybe the residents need to be aware of what requires a permit fee.
It's fine?
We can do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Yes, please. Sorry.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Bill number 5779 is now ordinance number 4450.
Thank you. First reading, Bill number 5780, please.
First reading, Bill number 5780 by title only, an ordinance granting approval of a site development plan to install an ADA accessible entrance at property number 2645 South Hanley Road, which permits under the provisions of Chapter 25 of the Brentwood City Code the development of that site, providing the conditions of such development, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor. This is a contingent recommendation, Bill 5780, the ADA accessible entrance at the south side of the building, for an ordinance granting approval of the site development plan to install an ADA accessible entrance at the property located 2645 South Hanley Road. This should be accomplished by replacing an existing window with a door. Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval of the application with the condition that no building permit is issued until a floodplain development permit is obtained.
Okay. Any questions? Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill number 5780 by title only. An ordinance granting approval of a site development plan to install an ADA accessible entrance of property numbered 2645 South Hamley Road, which permits under the provisions of Chapter 25 of the Brentwood City Code the development of that site, providing the conditions of such development, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Alderman Lady.
I'll ask at this point, Your Honor, if the floodplain development permit has been submitted to the city for review.
I don't believe it has yet. Ellen, has it?
Yeah, I believe it's in process right now, actually.
In process of being reviewed by the city or in process of getting acquired?
Being reviewed by the city.
Thank you. So yes, we do have, they've submitted something. Okay.
I'm sorry, do we have a second reading?
Yes, we did.
Do we have a motion, please?
Motion to approve, perfect Bill 5780 into ordinance form, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Alderman Lay, second by Alderwoman Manister to perfect Bill number 5780 in ordinance form. Roll call.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Bill number 5780 is now ordinance number 4451.
Thank you. First reading of Bill number 5781, please.
First reading, Bill number 5781 by title only, an ordinance amending Chapter 9 of the Revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri by deleting sections 9-28 and 9-29 in their entirety as it relates to physical examination of firefighters and promotion and demotion of firefighters, providing for the current maintenance of this code, providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Synopsis, please.
Yes, Your Honor, this is a housekeeping measure. Bill 5781 is an amendment to Chapter 9, the Fire Department of our Brentwood Municipal Code. The bill is for an ordinance deleting sections 9-28 and 9-29 in their entirety as it relates to physical examination of firefighters and promotion and demotion of firefighters. By ordinance number 4412, the Board of Aldermen at that time adopted the revised Brentwood Employees Handbook, which makes provision for the same three items. The deletion is brought forward to avoid any confusion as to which ordinance governs the physical examination and promotion and demotion of firefighters. Our Public Safety Committee has recommended approval after reviewing this item.
Thank you. Any questions? Alderman Saunders.
Can I ask Chief Jury, please? It says that the officer must have a minimum of 2 years. In order, how does the ranking go? What's the order of the ranking?
You have chief, assistant chief, captain, and lieutenants. Each shift has a captain, and each shift has a lieutenant.
Okay. And in order to become a captain, is there any additional requirements other than 2 years? I mean, is that the same for both captain and for both?
It's essentially the same for both.
Okay.
But they're two separate positions that are tested for separately.
Okay, there's testing, and then, but do you feel like someone should have the requirement of being a lieutenant before promoted to a captain?
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends on the person, it depends on how they test, it depends on how long they've been with the department, it depends on their daily responsibilities and how they deal with those daily responsibilities. There's a lot involved in it. It's not unusual to see somebody promoted from private to captain. You don't see it that often, but it does happen.
Okay. And so is this pretty standard, that promotion process
Yes.
in the fire department?
Yeah, the process that we put in place was approved by Public Safety some time ago, and it's a standard routine process
Okay.
that is copied by virtually every fire department in the county.
Okay, and you feel confident, I mean, that we're not going to have people with their nose out of joint if they're jumping rank?
No, I'm not confident in that. That
But
goes
I mean,
part and
what I
parcel
guess,
with it.
I'm sorry, I didn't really say that correctly, but you have some kind of documentation that warrants that they should be in that position versus
By the end of the
someone else.
process, you will have that documentation in place.
But that is, like, we could even see that if,
Yes.
Okay.
And it also goes back to their evaluations, too. I mean, that's That's a big part of it also.
Okay, thank you.
And in a small department, if you limited it to being a lieutenant first, those would be the only people that would be qualified to do that job from the ordinance standpoint, opposed to actually maybe the ability to do the job because of years of training or work.
Yeah, that's true. You don't want to restrict yourself to just saying that you can only promote lieutenants to captains. You're really restricting yourself then.
Are you allowed to hire from outside? Do you post?
Hire,
I mean, like if you felt like somebody wasn't, can you bring someone in? I'm assuming you probably don't have that situation, though.
well, we're only allotted so many personnel. So if you were to go outside and say, I'm going to hire a captain from somebody else, number one, what makes him qualified to be a captain in Brentwood?
Okay.
And number two,
You have to get,
who are you going to eliminate from the department?
okay. And would you explain, too, about the budgeting and that this will go into effect 2014?
Yeah, we won't have the promotions in place till 2014.
Okay. I only say that for the audience so that it's not going to backdate to the beginning of 2013.
correct.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I just wanted to say that I think working with public safety, the chief, it was easier to see this when you explained it because you're very good at explaining things, and I think you make it very easy for us to understand, and I think you're doing a great job. I just wanted to commend you for it.
Thank you.
I agree. The backup and detail is always there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill number 5781 by title only, an ordinance amending Chapter 9 of the Revised Code of Ordinances of the City of Brentwood, Missouri by deleting sections 9-28 and 9-29 in their entirety as it relates to physical examination of firefighters and promotion and demotion of firefighters, providing for the current maintenance of this code, providing for the repeal of all conflicting ordinances, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Motion, please.
Motion.
Second, Your Honor.
Motion was made by Alderman Nguyen, second by Alderman Leahy. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister.
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
Bill number 5781 is now ordinance number 4452.
Thank you. First reading of bill number 5782, please.
First reading, Bill number 5782 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and Outdoor Solutions, Inc. for Strassner Avenue and Brentwood Boulevard intersection landscape and maintenance, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Synopsis.
Yes, Your Honor, this was the subject of some earlier discussion. Bill 5782, Strassner Avenue and Brentwood Boulevard intersection landscaping maintenance. This bill is for an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the City of Brentwood and/or our city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between our city and Outdoor Solutions Incorporated. That's for the Strassner Avenue and Brentwood Boulevard intersection, their landscaping maintenance program. For those who don't know where that is, it's very close to Applegates. The agreement is for up to a 3-year period with option for 2 one-year extensions to be considered in the final year, beginning at the date designated by the owner or owner's representative and the contractor. This agreement is contingent upon an annual appropriation upon the conclusion of the first year.
Mayor,
Thank you.
any questions? I just want to make one statement. I remember back when we were going to build the berm and what to do with it, and we finally decided to do what we did. We put the bushes in, we put the grass in, and then we even added the Christmas lights. And I think the people over there have been really delighted with what we have. I think it makes a wonderful addition, particularly at Christmas time, to go by there and see that curve. That curve is really neat when you go down there. I go over to that place across the street and just sit there and watch it.
Yeah.
My wife and I. It's a good thing. I mean, I'm not talking about the price now. I'm just saying it's a wonderful feature. I'm glad we have it.
Thank you. Second reading, please.
Second reading, Bill number 5782 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement between the City of Brentwood, Missouri and Outdoor Solutions, Inc. for Strassner Avenue and Brentwood Boulevard intersection landscape maintenance and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Motion, please. Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes, I too hear, good things, and I think the berm is attractive, and especially, like you say, at Christmas. But there's one item, the brick sidewalk path is on a slant. Like, you can't really walk on it,
Not made to walk on.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's more decorative.
Is there going to be any kind of a sidewalk along there
No.
with some of the
We don't want people
changes?
along there.
Okay, I thought some residents asked me, they were under the impression that that was going to be a sidewalk, but it's just decorative. Okay, that's the complaint I heard. And then also, this is another, Andy had talked about our own staff doing the work. You know, I think based on our wish list, you know, our staff's overextended, and you know, that concerns me because too, though, when we were talking about the rec center, and this is a little bit, but it does tie in the fact that when the promenade and the point roll off and we get those additional revenues, I don't want to say that we're going to be directing that revenue to Parks and Rec, because I do see a need for additional staff. We haven't hired any police since we, or if it is one or so, since, you know, all this additional development has been done. And I know it was asked and that we didn't get it in the last time, and, you know, there's been other measures taken and they seem to be working, but I'm just saying that it is a real possibility. We see, you know, the criminal acts. I know my neighbor just on White Avenue, 2 blocks down, their van was stolen, and it was recovered in downtown St. Louis a few days later. But, you know, it's happening right in front of our homes and stuff. So I just want to say that, you know what I mean? I see authorizing this contract because I think, is our staff capable of doing this? Is there
a question?
No.
Well, I mean, I am asking a question, but can the staff handle doing the maintenance of, it's the berm and Brentwood?
I believe that when the contract was initially let, given the magnitude of the work staff was doing at that time, the city believed the staff couldn't handle the additional workload. That hasn't changed, and as you indicated, as in other departments, no additional position has been funded in Public Works. So it's the same in Public Works as it is in planning and other departments.
Okay, and I know that they did take on, too, the work from the turret to their York Woods from the turret, and I know they have to take care of that area, so that was put on their workload too when that was
Right, and we
planted.
have one horticulturist who is out there pulling weeds. I'm sure you've seen her throughout the community. So to say that we would like for her to take on the Strassner berm as well would mean that a lot more things won't get done.
Okay, right. So I do think that Andy's point is good in the future. You know what I mean? That if we can start bringing it in house, but I do know we're stretched in different places.
Okay. Did we have second reading?
We did.
Yes, we did, Your Honor.
And we had a motion? And second?
Second, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion is made by Alderman, second by Alderman Kramer. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
No.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
Bill number 5782 is now ordinance number 4453.
I just want to correct one thing, and I don't know how far back you want to say when you said that we hadn't hired policemen since we did all these developments, but I'm for sure since '96 we've actually hired 5 new policemen at least. I think there might even be 2 more in there. In the late '90s, 3 years in a row, we got cop grants where we hired 3 new police officers that the federal government paid 3/4 of their salary for 3 years. We paid 25%, and at the end of that, we kept them on. In 2007, when we started the red light camera program, we hired 2 additional traffic officers. And I think actually in the early 2000s, we had another 1 or 2 cop grants as well. So we have added over the years additional police officers. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
So.
I think the comment was made during the budget process, and maybe it wasn't clarified then. Thank you.
Okay. Next item, Resolution 996. Synopsis, please.
Your Honor, the resolution number 996 is one for the Board of Aldermen of the City of Brentwood to authorize our city to take part in the ICLEIE Cities for Climate Protection campaign and the Focus St. Louis Climate Action Internship Program. The Regional Environmental Internship Program would allow the City of Brentwood to take part in and develop the greenhouse gas inventory, estimating the future of greenhouse gas emissions, and committing to the development of a climate action plan.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Do I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve as submitted,
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Your Honor, perhaps, Bola, is there anything you want to add to this?
I think with conversation that's ongoing about the community center, it is an opportune time to look at how we can be more efficient in our energy usage, particularly at the rec center. So this internship would look at all our utility bills for all city buildings and make recommendations based on usage on what we can do better.
Thank you.
Do you have a motion, please?
We did that. You got it.
I'm sorry, you're right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item, item 10, accounts against the city.
Yes, Your Honor. And before I get to the actual number on the warrant list, I want to explain real quick that when the warrant list comes out, it goes to the chair of the Ways and Means Committee to see if there are questions or items of import that need to be brought up. And I just wanted to mention that Bola and I had a conversation about, 6 or 7 months ago on the topic of including the year-to-date column. Bola, do you want to talk about that?
There is a report that has the budgeted amount, the actual amount spent years to date, and what the balance is. So that report is already generated, and it's provided to the department heads on a monthly basis or at any time that they request it, so that they're able to monitor expenses. So that someone is already doing that, but if there is need for any other resident that would like to see that report, you could make a sunshine request and we would provide you that report. The reason why we recommended doing against it, in this report, it would be a duplication of that same report, which is hundreds of pages long.
Thanks, Paul. Also, I wanted to mention there was an item brought to our attention earlier, I guess the topic of the audit and the audit amount, which is actually on this warrant list. We've been waiting for it to come forward. It finally has. Looking back in time, I remember hearing the estimate of $50,000 to $75,000, and I believe University Cities was $59,000, and I wondered aloud, since they're a much larger municipality than ours, that we would be close to that. It didn't happen, but it wasn't too terribly far off for the amount of hours they actually spent. And actually, Bola, we saved about $10,000 under where we thought it was going to be. Is that correct?
Right. The amount is $69,944.09.
And, Your Honor, I'm making a recommendation for a motion this evening for the warrant list to be paid that was generated for July 15th, 2013, in the amount of $202,469.78.
Okay.
Can
I
I
would
have
like to have review that one more time I don't think it should be that complicated to put a year-to-date on the warrant list. I mean, unless I'm missing something, but at least maybe you could go over that at Ways and Means and see. I would think that would be a pretty simple process. And the reason I say that is because for us to have internal reports, that's fine, and for the department heads, but when the general public looks at a warrant list that we publish, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think to have the year, the date in there is a good suggestion.
Question for Your Honor.
Alderman Lee.
Would you make it the year-to-date for that specific fund, or would you make it year-to-date for that specific line item?
For that specific fund. For instance, all the attorney fees are in the same amount.
Exactly.
Right. So you could put all those together on the warrant list and then have the budgeted amount for legal fees and then have the amount expended that much and the year-to-date.
Okay.
It shouldn't be that difficult.
We can easily do that, but I think Mr. Saunders mentioned earlier, what is the priority? Because staff will have to take time from something else that's more critical to do this. So within what time frame do you want it?
Excuse me.
Okay. Alderman Saunders.
Can I ask Gina, is Gina here? Our software is antiquated that we can't easily get that number.
That number can be generated very easily out of Fundware. This report is in Excel, so and the invoices obviously are not in Fundware, so it's kind of a manual process because these invoices in most cases haven't been paid. You'd have to do some sort of a lookup to, I mean, it could get
You'd have
fairly
to use the
complicated.
prior
but
months and add the current invoice?
I guess the bottom line is, if this report is for the public, that's one thing, but we view it as being information for the board to make their decisions, and the board is provided with budget reports every month. So we didn't feel like that would be an extra step that was needed for the board. But if you see it as more of a public document, something that the public needs to be reviewing for appropriate expenditures, that's fine.
Well,
But we
then-
see it as a board
My suggestion would
document.
be, and again, I understand, if it's a lot of work, then I can understand, that's always, I asked to discuss it, but then why don't we just take the budget number out? Because I think that's what makes it confusing.
No, 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 no. I'm not,
It
no.
didn't have a budget number when I started.
I know.
That
Right.
was added.
But that's what's causing the confusion because of that. But, okay, that's fine.
Your Honor.
I'm the one that requested the detailed reports. Do you know what I mean, those monthly reports? I'll take a look at it and see if there's not an easier way to pull that out. But it is a public document, and I agree with the mayor that we should put the year-to-date column on.
Okay. Alderman Kerwin.
Yes, Your Honor. It's not a big deal. When I discussed it with Bola, I just so everyone knows, I accepted the explanation at that time. At that time also, I had not received any member of the public request to see the year-to-date. One of the things, you're right, was not there was the budget line item. I think that's something that we worked on putting into place after talking back and forth. And I would like to see that stay. And if staff is not inclined to put the other column in there, then I think it's going to be the Board of Aldermen that's going to have to decide if that's the priority. And maybe that's a
That's fine.
motion.
Right. Well, we can review it. That's
Okay.
fine. Okay. Under the mayor's report.
Oh, we haven't approved
I'm sorry. We had a first and a second. All in favor of approving the warrant list?
Oh, I had one question on
Okay.
it. Thompson Coburn, do we have any progress? Are we close?
No additional report from the
Right.
last one.
Yeah. All in favor of approving the warrant list as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Under the mayor's report, I just have two items with respect to our upcoming meetings. I didn't know if the board wanted to entertain canceling that second meeting in August, since we moved up the meeting to the 5th, which would be the one that was scheduled for the 19th. Is that something we want to entertain?
Oh, I'm sorry.
We normally only have one meeting per month during the summer. so.
We're moving the meeting on the 19th to the 5th. For what reason?
Because Alderman
Robertson.
couldn't be here because that will be the evening that we're having
Hope, Girls
the
Hope.
Boys Hope, Girls Hope
Vote.
from Plains only.
Yes. So that's what we're doing on the 5th.
Right, but it'll be
Okay.
a full board meeting.
Yeah, thank you. There are other items that will be on that
Yeah,
agenda.
right,
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
We'll take care of all city business that we have that night, so. Does anybody want to make a motion to cancel the meeting on the 19th?
I'll move that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Alderman Sanders?
I'm just asking, Bula, do we have a lot of material coming forth? I mean, I'd rather instead of having a 4-hour meeting, but perhaps staff doesn't prefer that, but a 4-hour meeting is too shorter?
We'll be accommodating of your time constraints.
Well,
I
I mean,
think-
I know you have, as my husband was asking, and others, that, we want some of these things done, so.
We always have items, so we'll be bringing items forward.
Okay. I just want to
Okay.
accommodate your schedule, too.
If it might help, I'm actually going to request that we move the meeting in September up a week. And I'll explain that because that's the week that it's scheduled right now, and the 16th is the week of the Municipal League Conference. And some of the people would like to attend that, so if that may help, because that'll put them closer together, So we had a first and a second to cancel the meeting on the 19th. Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
No.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
No.
Okay. And the next one is actually a September meeting, which is scheduled for the 16th, and as I said, that,
Based on the voting, then the cancellation of the 19th does not pass 4-3.
simple majority. not an
Yeah, it's
ordinance.
not an ordinance.
Oh, thank you.
Actually, I'll lighten the mood here a little bit. As warm as it is tonight, and everybody's getting tired, and I keep looking up at the clock, and I'm like, it can't still be 5 days. The
broken.
clock stopped in the back of the room. And I was like, what is going on? This is a slow meeting.
We're doing good on time.
Yeah. What do you mean 4 hours? We've only been anyway. Sorry.
Okay, so the meeting on the
min-
19th is canceled?
Yes, and then the meeting scheduled September 16th, again, is a municipal league conference that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and I believe into Wednesday. I would make a recommendation to the board that we move that to Tuesday, the 10th. We wouldn't be able to have it here in the courtroom, or I'm sorry, we could do it the 9th over at the rec center, or Tuesday the 10th here. Actually, it'd probably be better to keep it on a Monday.
Yeah, maybe, I think so. People are used to that.
I'm sorry, I thought we were doing it on the 9th.
The
10th is
16th.
my ward meeting.
So why don't we do it on the 9th at the rec center?
I'll move to that.
Is there a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Is it when?
Roll call, please.
September.
No, the first was when?
No, I'm sorry. Is everybody-
Although, you know, I hate with both Keith, can we hold this till the next meeting? Because with both Keith and
Well,
Anthony
people
not
have
here.
reservations for the
Who's
municipal
second?
league, and we need to make additional reservations.
Okay.
Because of the hotel space.
Can we just revisit the 9th date?
That's what we're trying to eliminate.
got a motion in a
conflict on
second.
Reservation schedule.
Because
No,
people
I
have to
know,
make plans
I
to
know.
go.
I know, I understand that, but I was just thinking that we could revisit the 9th date when
I
the
don't think
full
it's
board-
going to really affect
Okay.
Keith or anything.
Okay.
but- Okay.
The
Do we?
motion is for the 9th, correct?
Huh?
The
The
motion
motion
was
is
for
for
the
the 9th
9th.
at the rec center.
Tom second.
1 and 2.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Nguyen?
Yes.
Alderman Kramer?
Yes.
Alderman Tui?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderwoman Manister?
Yes.
Alderwoman Saunders?
Yes.
And that being said, if
Can we
anybody,
clarify more the time to start?
it'll be regular 7 o'clock, Monday the 9th.
No more 6 p.m. starts?
No, no.
Okay.
We're moving forward
Just
with the rec
checking.
center. I would encourage anybody that can attend that look at the schedule and see if you can attend the municipal league conference. So.
I thought we were working on the codification review.
Well, that's a separate meeting. That's on the 20.
But there are,
That's the 30th, I believe.
I believe
July
that we
30th.
were
Oh, we had
looking
another
at
one
four,
scheduled
we
for
were
that.
looking
Well,
at
we can
four
still do that
different
one.
meetings, so yeah, I would anticipate the workshops shooting in front of the regular
If we
board
can get, if we can
meetings.
get that report generated by that meeting, otherwise we'll cancel that
Okay.
for the parks. We'll have another. Okay. That's all I have under the mayor's
Mayor-
report. We will have we will have an executive session tonight for a personnel matter and a legal matter. And
We need a motion to accept the 2012 audit report.
oh,
That was not done at the last meeting.
okay. Can we have a motion to accept the audit from the report that was given at our last meeting? And second?
Second, Your Honor.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Public safety, anything to report?
No report.
Public Works, not present. Ways and Means,
Yes, Your Honor, we have a meeting coming up at 6:30 this Wednesday evening in the chambers.
thank you.
Can
Alderman Saunders, I'm sorry.
Yeah, at that meeting, we're going to be discussing the library, who sets the rate. And so hopefully we're going to get that resolved, but I just wanted to let residents know, because that's kind of been ongoing since August of 2012. And it was mentioned at the last meeting, it was dropped, that maybe we needed to keep the rate at the ceiling, but I thought that was agreed by the municipal auditors, that we can roll back the rate. I mean, that's not part of the discussion anymore, just who sets it.
I'll be honest, I don't recall that specifically being discussed as to whether or not the rate would or should be rolled back.
I thought I heard it mentioned, but that issue isn't a question anymore, is what I'm saying. We're allowed to roll back the rate.
Well,
Actually, the library board
right.
is the body that sets the rate. And depending upon what it is they're doing, it can be affected by the Hancock Amendment.
Not this year, is it the next?
You know,
Okay.
I think, that's an important topic, so.
Okay. City Attorney,
no report, Your Honor.
City Clerk.
Mayor, we have in the weekly city administrator report an update on the interviews that Gina Jarvis, Finance Director, and I conducted last week on the RFQ for the Internal Control and Financial Policy Review. We interviewed a total of 3 firms, PKD CPAs and Advisors, Brown Smith Wallace, and Shermershaw Tree Law and Company. At the conclusion of the interview, we determined that any one of the 3 firms could perform the duties and responsibilities associated with the scope of service that's outlined in the RFQ. Each firm is very thorough and consistent in their methodology, philosophy, and approach to the project. They are also similar in how they respond to the scope of service. An exception is BKD, who recommended in their submission an audit forensic process called data mining, and that added an additional $5,000 to $6,000 to their cost. This was not included in the scope of service, and we feel a responsibility, if we were going to consider this, to bid this back out so that others could submit a response to that. But when you compare the cost of all three, given what I just said, our recommendation is that this bid be awarded to Shimmershaw Treelaw and Company at a cost of $26,400, which is a difference of about $12,100 from BSW, and a difference of, depending on whether you include the data mining or not, for BKD, that ranges from $13,200 to $17,700.
Okay. So you would bring that back to us with an ordinance at the next meeting?
But given the fact that we now have a fund balance policy in place and that there's no funding in the current budget for this, it would require
A budget amendment as well?
Exactly.
Right. So we would have to do that, or you would bring that back at the next meeting? Right?
We could bring that back.
Or go to Ways and Means?
Exactly.
Alderwoman Saunders?
I haven't, I briefly looked at the agenda. Is that on our Ways and Means? We meet
no,
Wednesday.
We
We'll have
didn't
to
put it on
slide
there.
that in there.
Okay, well, maybe we can
Under new
modify,
business.
to get that in. And also, do we know what data mining provides? What does that provide?
It's
Can
a-
I
you
take
wanna
that
do-
one? A lot of times with journal entries, you're looking for patterns.
Right.
So if they're repeating over and over, it kind of alludes to maybe fictitious attitude. If something's going in at the end of every month and it doesn't really make sense. So you can look to see if you see repetitive journal entries that have no explanation, or if they're ending in whole numbers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big red flag.
Okay.
So that's basically what it does.
And just so that you know, the three firms that we interviewed all consistently felt that given the police investigation, given the audit that was done, state audit, petitioned audit, given the audit report that was done by Hochschild Bloom, and then their annual audit, and then the new audit done by Showalter and Jabori, they didn't feel that any additional meaningful information would come out of a forensic audit.
How could they determine that before coming in-house? I mean, I thought the idea is when they're going through the internal controls, I mean, to me, they could say, these things have been done and we're not going to repeat the work, but I don't see how that determination could be made.
These are professionals in the field who claim that they've done this elsewhere, but they feel it will cost hundreds and thousands of dollars, and it would tie up staff. But if it's something that the Board of Aldermen would want them to do, they would gladly submit a cost estimate to do it. They just feel that any information and all information that is there to find has been found.
I'm just a little concerned. I mean, the 2012 audit, those internal controls, we had, several significant weaknesses there. And, that was after you were hired. And I think the opening one was the bank recs. And I mean, considering we had cash withdrawal on a credit card, I thought bank recs would be the very first thing that we did timely. So I'm surprised they made that. It's like one thing if you looked at 2011, the year where it happened, and I would have thought in 2012 we got a relatively clean report, but that's not what happened.
Well, I think you could discuss that at Ways and Means, and then we'll hopefully bring the firm forward at the next meeting so we can get this process started. So, Excise Commissioner has already been taken care of. Library, anything further? No. Municipal League, we already talked about that. Communications.
Your Honor, I just want to report that there is a new program, once again, I think I mentioned it under public safety last time, called nextdoor.com. It's a neighborhood safety program. If you haven't checked out, it's an excellent opportunity for you to get involved with your neighbors for all different reasons. For example, maybe you're looking for a great babysitter. Nextdoor.com. You can sign up. All the information is kept private, and it's a great way to meet with your neighbors. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Historical Society, anything?
No.
We will have the closed meeting, as I had already said, we'll go through these other items. We will not come back into this room to close our regular meeting after the executive session. So any unfinished business? Alderman Saunders?
At the last meeting, Alderman Kramer had said that he provided the synopsis and the summary for the meetings, and I didn't intend to not give him credit for that. My intention was just that prior to that, several residents had been asking for more clarification of the bills because it's hard without that synopsis to know. But I did want to make sure that, Alderman Kramer did bring it forward and Alderman Kramer actually executed it. I just was trying to my purpose was just trying to let residents know that your input is valuable and sometimes you see things that we don't. And that was all. But Alderman Kramer listened to you and he executed, and he writes the synopsis.
Unfinished business?
No. Your Honor, I
Alderman
have
Kramer.
at least one item of unfinished business that many, at least viewers, if not the folks in the audience, would be interested in. This is the topic of the road condition of Brentwood Boulevard, which has been a sore spot for the city of Brentwood for quite some time. You may recall various other times we've brought this topic up. In August of last year, myself, City Administrator Bola Conde, our representative, Mr. Dolan, and some others met with St. Louis County Roads and Highways to ask them if they would indeed hold up what we thought was their end of the bargain to take care of Brentwood Boulevard with a repaving. We were met with, even if we had an ironclad letter that said they were supposed to, they don't have the money in the budget. What we've come up with now is trying to keep them accountable to at least the condition of the road until their stated timetable, which is 2015. So with a communication to the Director of Roads and Highways again a couple weeks ago, received a response back to them, which I supplied to our City Administrator and some others, that the potholes were taken care of on Brentwood Boulevard, roughly between Rose and Manchester, and that this week they would get to the other sore spot, which is the numerous lane markers that were covered over by this defective microsurfacing from 2006. So they have committed to repainting those over, so at least they're not confusing to the drivers, and they committed to doing that this week. So hopefully we'll get a chance to see that soon. Thank you.
Great.
Can I ask you a question regarding that? Did you say it was St. Louis County that's responsible for that?
That's right.
Okay, so they weren't allotted any money when, was it MoDOT responsible for 40?
Right.
I thought they were. It's
Okay,
not there.
so like Hanley then, did St. Louis County redo, and McKnight, who did those?
St. Louis
St.
County.
Louis
Actually,
County.
McKnight, we partnered on that with St. Louis County, Ladue, and
So I just don't understand how they did not budget for this. I mean, it was one of the most heavily traveled, and I was on New Florissant. My sister lives out there. I mean, that road's beautiful. I mean, you can ride on it, and to
the
have this
explanation
prominent road and not have budgeted for this, when we did them a favor, we gave them an extra lane, and I mean, to me, it's inexcusable. So our representatives are not going to help us push for earlier?
And the explanation I received, or what got at 1.2, just to throw another wrinkle into it, was even if they did have it budgeted, basically on the 141 extension, which they sunk all of the St. Louis County's shovel-ready stimulus money towards when they're building it, was basically when they got to the end of that project, they had to take about $30 million out of their road fund that would have been used throughout St. Louis County for road improvements in order to finish that project. And so that put them at a shortfall for ongoing projects as they were may have been or should have been scheduled.
How did Hanley get picked over us?
Well,
excellent question.
It's not over us. We actually said that when they're doing it because it wasn't as in bad a shape as Brentwood Boulevard. But
right.
You know, it's half in Brentwood too. So,
Your Honor, I actually visited, and this is maybe old news to some, I actually visited the projects for 2013 and 2012, and I challenged their road condition data that those roads were in worse condition than ours, which they weren't. But worse still, our road is, in many people's opinion, a much more important road, traveled by many more hundreds of thousands of vehicles per week, per month, per year, yet we don't control.
Right.
Yes.
New business. Alderman Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Couple of announcements, if I may. The Ward 3 meeting for the month of July will be July 30th at 7 o'clock up here at the council room. But more importantly, the National Night Out Against Crime is Tuesday night, August the 6th. It will be held this year at the Brentwood Swim Club from 5 p.m. to 9. All are invited. Bring your swimming suit. Free swimming will be had. Frank, I believe you're going to help cook again this year. So we do have refreshments and food. We have some wonderful door prizes and attendance prizes and raffles. The intent of the evening is to help promote neighborliness and to meet your police officers with the intent of helping to keep Brentwood a safe community. That's Tuesday night, August the 6th at the Brentwood Swim Club, starting at 5. Thank you, Your Honor.
Alderman Saunders?
Yes, and I will host my Ward 1 meeting, I got to get back to that, sorry, in August. Residents said they were interested in coming, so it'll be August 13th at 6:30 here at City Hall. And then also, I wanted to make a motion, well, I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and that the Board of Aldermen pursue filing against the bonds. Jim Pozo has done all the work. He has all of the information tallied and together, but it needs sponsorship from the board or from someone. But it's the possibility that we could collect some of the money, and then also, you know, they'll do if there's any kind of auditing that needs to be done. So I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, it's all pulled together. So I move that we file for the bond on. File on the performance bond.
I second that.
Roll call.
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead.
I just want to ask a question if we could. We've got the motion on the floor. Can we ask our attorney for some advice in this regard? Are you familiar? Do we need anything else to make this happen, or what do you know about it?
I have not discussed this with Mr.
I would think you
Pozo
would talk about this as a legal matter.
I can update the board in executive session. I have additional information as to what Mr. Pozo has done, but I would like to inform the board in executive session.
Your Honor, I just want to say that while Alderman Saunders may have a very valuable motion, I personally would like to hear more data from the city's point of view before I vote up on that measure.
I do, though, want to say that Jim Pozo, the information he put was drafted from looking over at the Constitution and everything, and it was based on the 2011 audit. And, you know, he sent it. He'd been in contact with Daniel and Henry and the different, and basically they said we couldn't move it forward without support of the board or an appointed person. So
absolutely,
it seems
I would just like to
something
hear
that's
our
easy
own
to
attorney's opinion
investigate.
before we vote on something of that magnitude. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So do we?
But she has a motion in a second.
We just withdraw it and take it to executive session.
They can if they want to withdraw their motions.
Okay, I withdraw my second.
Okay, all right.
And I'll withdraw my motion, but with the intent, I will definitely make the motion again. I just, since you're not willing to vote until you hear from our attorneys.
Okay.
I have one
Oh,
other.
and then also, I had a little more. We had a gentleman, your name, if you could say, but he came to Public Works. We didn't have a quorum, and Alderman Robertson forwarded his request to the Board of Aldermen, but there was not time to get the ordinance prepared, and he's supposed to close shortly. So I wanted to know if it would be, since he attended the meeting tonight, could he at least speak briefly about his project? Would that be okay? It's a property in Hanley Industrial Court.
Also, Ellen spoke to the special counsel for planning and development prior to the meeting starting, and Stephanie Carr, indicates that this can be approved by a voice vote in the absence of is it a resolution? Yes.
Let's hear about it.
Okay. If you'd like to come forward and introduce yourself, please.
And thank you for your patience.
Good evening. My name is Trent Moeller, Moeller. Actually, my mom was the mayor of Maplewood, so I've been around these places a bit.
Can you give us an address, too? I'm sorry.
Yes. I'm actually at Business or?
Either one's fine.
Either one. I'm at 950 Francis Place, Suite 14, Clayton, Missouri, 63105. and I hope that to be 700 Hanley Industrial Court Road, 63144. I've been operating in Clayton for 12 years. I have called a post-rehab functional fitness facility. I used to actually have a large role at the Mid-County YMCA. Resigned from there for about 15 years ago to work on a PhD and continued to stay within the wellness community. So I was
Speak
looking,
just a little louder.
Sorry. I've been up since 5. I'm looking to buy the building, 700 Hanley Industrial Court, and an important aspect of that for me will be to be able to put some windows on the side that looks over the park and the walkway. It's kind of an above-ground cave at this juncture, and I'm in a below-ground cave now in Clayton. I was hoping to get some sunlight into the space. I think it'll really help aesthetically, the view from the walking path as well. The building is in great disrepair. It's been kept kind of ready to sell and as a blank slate, and it's definitely pretty blank. So my hope was to be able to put some windows along the side, and originally it started as the architect said, "Oh yeah, that's not a big deal. It's a side yard situation. Just put in windows, and you've got 6 feet." And then it kind of became a much bigger issue, much broader conversation. Paul Turner's a very dedicated architect, and he wanted to make sure he had everything taken care of. So he submitted things, and they heard it at Public Works, and they were kind of approving it, but I guess things had not been written quite clearly, and so they weren't really clear on where the windows were going to be. And so I was under the impression when I left that tonight would be kind of the vote on it, and I was going to be scheduled to close this Friday, pending that I could put windows in the wall there. And basically to do that, we needed to make sure that the city wasn't going to build within 10 feet of the wall, of the south wall of that building. And it was staff's opinion at the Public Works meeting, which I don't want to speak for staff, but that they wouldn't be building on, there's a walking path. They wouldn't be building on that side of the path, on the building side. If they did anything, it would be on the other side. But again, I can't. My understanding is that originally the building owned 12.5 feet to the south and 12.5 feet to the west, but they actually ended up giving 12.5 feet to the city, according to some of the surveys I'd seen. But surveys are like, pretty complicated. So anyway, that was, and so just moving forward, not being able to have windows would be very hard for me to do, and make it into what I want to make it. So yeah, and I don't know how the process works from there.
Ellen, so we could make a motion to approve windows on the south side of the building, and have a formal resolution brought to us?
Yeah, the motion would need to be to not build within 10 feet of the building, the existing building at 700 Hanley Industrial Court.
Oh, for us not to?
For us to agree not to build within that area. That way, there's some code requirements.
I don't think technically we can anyway, because that's a flood. I think we got that property initially through, I know Memorial Park we cannot build in because that was federal funds that bought that.
Yeah,
So,
we couldn't find any deed restrictions, but that's what I was wondering, if it was part of a buyout that was restricted.
Again, just so you can picture it, if you're at the handball courts, looking at the handball courts and turn directly west to go around the bend down Hanley Industrial Court, it would be the first building right there next to the park. And so the path goes right up alongside there, then goes up to the swim club, or to the right back to the inline skating rink. So, Alderman Leahy.
Please. In doing this motion, we would actually be establishing a deed restriction on city property that would support their facility, since there is no setback on their property line.
Right, that's the problem. The building is built right on the property line, so there's no setback. So. But again, I can't see that ever happening.
I agree with you. At this point, I don't see us changing the park into another construction area.
Right. So, Alderman Saunders, or woman, sorry.
I wanted to ask Eric to come forward, just because we went and looked at the property together, and you had mentioned, potential for a skate park, and I just want to know whether, and I think Trent here was also a little bit interested before closing on the park. I know it's nothing definite, you know, this was brainstorming from and you're just in the initial stage.
What I talked about was we would never build anything on this path that would back up to the building, because the path is 20 feet away from the building. What we'd put in there, we couldn't put anything in there. I just talked that going through the master planning committee process, the community meeting that we had, there's been a lot of discussion about dog parks, skate parks, different ideas that people would like to include in parks, and those have both come up, and that area has been identified by both of those people, both of those constituencies. Now, obviously, that's during a master planning process. Who knows what's going to come out with the outcome of that, but I just brought that up.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to pin you down. I just
No.
didn't want to, do you know what I mean? That
Mhm.
we did consider that since we are in the process of updating our master plan. So,
But I don't,
thank
we
you.
wouldn't move anything on that one side of the path.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor.
Alderman Kramer?
So we could still reserve the right to widen the path if we wanted to, or change the path, but we wouldn't have any interest in constructing anything between the path and the building.
Correct.
Okay.
Bathrooms would be the closest thing that you could actually try to build, but I don't even know that the water pipes or wastewater pipes would be available in that section to be able to support it.
Well, we already have them there anyway.
Exactly, just down the road.
Okay. We do have a motion to agree that we will not build in that 20-foot area, or 20-foot south of the building.
Did somebody make that?
I'm asking for a motion.
Oh, okay.
I'll move so.
10 feet.
10
Oh, 10. I thought that one
Within
said
the
20.
10 feet of the property
10,
line.
I'm sorry. Okay, 10.
Yep. I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
And
Second.
thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We'll formalize that at the next meeting.
Close.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor?
Alderman Kramer?
I think it's a new business item, I'm not sure, but just to cover an item, I'm a little confused. We had the presentation from ATS earlier this evening about their program, and I guess it has expired. Bola, we had that before, and it was voted on?
It came to public safety, and then there wasn't a quorum, so it came to the board to renew, while we gave enough time for public safety to consider renewing the agreement, and the board indicated they didn't want to consider that at all, so that meant that their agreement lapsed.
Okay. If I could, I'd like to be a sponsor for that to come back forward again the next time we have a full quorum. I don't know when that's going to be.
Full quorum of,
I guess I should say a full membership of the board in attendance that would
Okay.
vote on something like that.
To the
I'd
Board of Aldermen?
To the
I'd
Board of Aldermen.
co-sponsor,
That's fine.
I would
To the Board of
co-sponsor that.
Aldermen. Okay.
You know, not more just to tag people, you know,
There are a lot of
speeding not
people who
against you,
consider it to
because
be
when
a-
we voted no, my concern was that it was still up in the air whether those were valid, but they have been useful in crime investigation, so.
Useful, I think they've been upheld in court as well under various challenges, and they've been useful to our crime-fighting abilities and those others who've needed our footage. And additionally, I don't really see it as a money grab. There isn't really much money coming in from that particular program. So,
$11,000 a year.
yeah, exactly. So if I could
That's a lot of money.
sponsor that to come forward. Is that okay, Frank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do
Okay.
that. Okay.
I see a discussion
Well,
going on.
no, wait a minute. Before you, if I may, Your Honor, before you go working towards sponsoring a bill arrangement, part of the problem with wanting to extend the renewal of that contract was the change in all the rates and everything that was still up in the air and no negotiation on. Are you sponsoring a bill going to their newer rates, or how is your bill going to affect that?
If I might interject this, as of right now, we don't have a contract.
Correct.
Correct.
And in order to bring a bill, I think somebody has to negotiate a contract with ATS, so you have specific terms.
we
Well, that'd be
presented
fine.
that
Why
to
don't
public
you, why don't you
safety.
direct staff to develop,
Starting in public
make
safety.
contact and develop a new contract?
Please.
Okay,
We'll bring that back.
right,
Thank you.
Okay.
okay. All right. Next item, hearing of any matters of interest. If anybody would like to address the board, please come forward.
Susan Ryan Pine. Thank you for the clarity on the purpose of this report. And I would agree that maybe a year-to-date is difficult. It wasn't my intent to add work where it doesn't make sense. When I look at it and clarify, I think you can clarify this easily, Gina, the 120 on the budget for each one of these is the same 120.
Right.
Thank you. So it becomes a little bit problematic when looking at it apples to apples. And what you're saying is looking at the financial review is the 100 pages, which does support it to the budget and year-to-date. So it wasn't my intent to expand on this and make it more
And I can
problematic.
share it with you afterwards.
Oh, yeah, that's fine, yeah. But when I'm understanding that this is more related to an AP invoice as well as trying just to give you a snapshot on the overall budget, I'm fine with that.
Okay, thanks.
Matt Saunders, I just wanted to, can I tell her congratulations on her new, does everybody know that? Congratulations. Yeah, very good. I don't know why you volunteered for that.
Thank you.
Also, I just, tonight's the first I've heard it. It sounds like we're kind of short-staffed in areas. Is that the case? I was just curious because it sounds like some of the stuff you guys want to do, you just don't have the people. I was just curious if that's the case because that's sounds like it's coming out of this meeting. Thanks.
Okay.
Sebbing, and I would just like confirmation that somebody is going to get back to me in writing sometime this week with a status update on what's happening with the PDI and when it's going to happen, why, and what it hopes to accomplish, so I can share it with my neighbors. And then also with the watering bowl, that somebody will try to work with them to try to mitigate the noise, at least for the next couple weeks until whenever the sound wall goes up.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay. Close public comment. For those of you who don't know, Bola was actually just elected as president of SLATE, which is an organization, municipal, municipal, huh?
SLACMA.
Or SLACMA, I'm sorry.
SLACMA.
Well, then you explain it. Go ahead.
That's fine.
And, yeah, go ahead.
It's made up of 75 municipalities in the St. Louis County area. And I was elected board. I started office last week, Thursday, and will be president for the next 12 months and lead the organization and staying current on matters that affect local government from the city administrator's perspective.
Wow. Thank you. Sorry about that. Alderman Saunders.
And you were voted on by your peers, right? Fellow city
Exactly.
administrators.
Exactly.
So that is really a great accomplishment. And I also just wanted to thank, I had several public works issues as far as code violations and that, and I've emailed Bola, and I do have to say I get a response that day from Bola and Jim Nominson, and they're usually at the property the same day. So I appreciate the quick turnaround on those issues. It's unfortunate that they have time and you have to give them letters and so forth, and it may not happen as quickly as we want, but the city's doing everything to make it happen.
Thank you. Jim makes me look good.
I think one thing I like to say too is that Octavia, you work very well with her. You do a great job, and I feel like there's so much rapport between you two that it makes it go a lot smoother. I thank you for that.
Okay. If I can motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Kramer.
Yes.
Alderman Tui.
Yes.
Alderman Leahy.
No.
Better be.
Alderman Manister.
We're not going upstairs, are we?
Alderwoman Saunders.
Yes.
I don't know where we're going.